Chicago Bulls have 14 games left before the February 8th trade deadline, a trade deadline that could force the team to make a lot of tough decisions about their roster for the present and for the future. We're going to talk about some of those decisions that they may have to make and dive into the mailbag. All that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host, Sarah Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go and get into the content for today. And just one topic before the mailbag that I want to get into. So as everybody knows, the trade deadline is February 8th. The Chicago Bulls currently sit right now at 16-21 on the season with, some roster decisions that they may have to ask themselves tough questions on as they head forth into that trade deadline. Now, of course, the one that everybody's talking about and has been talked about for the most part is Zack LaVine, right? After the trade news came down with him and the team being more open to the trade, that's really all that's kind of come down to, right? And we've looked at, trade other teams being interested more so in Alex Caruso, Andre Drummond, maybe even DeMar DeRozan, having more teams that are kind of willing to trade for those players than Zack LaVine because of his big contract. And the Bulls have to ask themselves some tough questions, right? Like I said, 16-21 on the season. Right now sit at 10th seed in the Eastern Conference. We've been playing much better. And the thing that this front office has to ask themselves before they do anything, right, is continuity going to be the bet again? Now, when the Zack LaVine trade news initially came out, I kind of said that it was a good thing in a way because it forced this front office to do something different than what they had been doing. And that's kind of keeping things the same. Now, with Zack LaVine's, trade market reportedly not being as high as what either his representation or the team may have thought, it may end up working to a situation where Zack LaVine stays, right? But this team has to look at not only the way that the team played while Zack LaVine was out, but also how he's going to play while he's back in now with him and Vooch coming back and really make a tough decision. But continuity, which has been the bet of this front office for the better part of 3 years at this point, right? I think the only time that this team really didn't bet on continuity was when they made the trade for Nikola Vucevic at the trade deadline and traded a lot of their young pieces. Then in that offseason, bringing in Alex Caruso, Lonzo Ball, DeMar DeRozan, right? But other than that, it's been pretty much keeping the same thing together. And the continuity, while it's been a buzzword around the Chicago Bulls, has also been what the front office has bet on. And they have to ask themselves, is this another year where you want to bet on continuity? Or is it a year that you want to actually break something up and do something different? Now, a couple of these decisions are kind of going to be made for you, right? Zack LaVine, we'll see what the trade market comes. We've already had, and I got a video out yesterday on just kind of teams being back in on Zack LaVine after seeing him play well. And that's probably going to come as the trade deadline gets closer and teams are struggling. But then you have tougher decisions on DeMar DeRozan, Andre Drummond, Alex Caruso. Now, for the Alex Caruso portion of it, the Bulls have already said that the Alex Caruso, they're not taking calls on Alex Caruso. A team would have to really call with such a wowing deal that the Bulls just can't turn it down and move on from Alex Caruso. He's an important part of the culture, important part of what they're building, and they want to keep some veterans around even while they are building this younger team, and that's what we've seen with this team. Andre Drummond. Now, Drum's contract is so low that I still don't think that the Bulls move him unless it's like in another larger deal, right? Package him with DeMar, with Zack LaVine, depending on what you get back in that case. And then the DeMar DeRozan part of it. DeMar DeRozan is one of the more interesting scenarios that the Chicago Bulls face at this upcoming trade deadline. Reportedly that they are far away on a deal, not even close to reaching a contract extension, and the Bulls have to look at that and ask themselves, can they really risk losing DeMar DeRozan for nothing if he does decide to walk in free agency? Or maybe they play it out. Maybe they're confident that something can be worked out in the offseason, and no harm, no foul when it comes to that, right? But you really have to look and survey that. And so this is something that they really have to look at before. Is this another trade deadline of betting on continuity, or do you take advantage of some of the assets that you have and decide to make a large move? Alex Caruso, no. I don't think the Bulls are going to trade Alex Caruso. I can say that right now. Drum, Torrey Craig, Javon Carter, these are players that I think could be included in a larger deal if the Bulls do swing a larger deal. Don't know if that's likely either. And then you come down to the DeMar DeRozan, Zack LaVine portion of this. And that's where it gets the most interesting because those are the two players that would indicate such a large change to what the Chicago Bulls have done and built around over the last 3 years. And so we know that the Zack LaVine, I'm not going to get into all the rigmarole of that. We all know the trade request, teams being interested, team not. We already know that. DeMar DeRozan, I just talked about that a little bit. But more importantly, you have to look at this front office, and is this the year that the front office wants to take advantage of some of their assets before potentially two of these assets walk away for nothing, and Andre Drummond and DeMar DeRozan, both unrestricted free agents next year. Now, I do think that Drum is likely to probably sign a contract extension with the Chicago Bulls if they do offer him a respectable one. We've talked about how difficult that could get for the Chicago Bulls, depending on what happens with the contract extensions of Patrick Williams and DeMar DeRozan. Now, if DeMar ends up walking away for nothing or gets traded, that alleviates some of that. But this is an important period for this front office to make those type of decisions on what's going to happen. And I hope this is not another year of full continuity. I do hope. We also, the Lonzo Ball disabled player exception, right? We still got that. We still got part of our mid-level exception. We still got our biannual exception. The Bulls have a lot of tools at their disposals if they decide to use it. Now, you're also sitting at a team that's 10th best in the Eastern Conference, still in the play-in. And even though this team has been playing better, I'm sure that in the back of the mind of the front office, at least if they're smart, you got to be worrying about, is it a little bit of fool's gold? Now, looking at the team, watching the team, I don't feel that it is fool's gold, right? I feel like this team has really competed. The play style has changed. It's adapted. It's working for the players. Zack LaVine, it could work for too. We've barely gotten to scratch the surface of that. But that has to also be in the back of their minds just a little bit, right? It's saying that while we've played really good over an 18-game stretch, 17 of those being without Zach, one of those being with Zack LaVine coming back against the Charlotte Hornets, have we seen enough to where we think that we can not make major I really don't know how to word it, right? And so that's what it comes down to with this front office, that they have tough decisions to make about the future of this franchise. And this trade deadline could be a very important one, or it could be one that goes off with a putter and nothing really happens, and we still have this same team after the trade deadline and we finish it out with the season. Now, that would raise more questions for what it means in the offseason for the Bulls with DeMar, Drum, and players like that, even Zack LaVine. But I think looking into this and leading into the February 8th trade deadline, we got a lot of decisions that we need to make with this roster. And, we'll see what it ends up coming from it. But I think that this could be either a really important trade deadline for the Bulls, or it could be one that relatively stays the same. But I want to hear from you guys on this one. How do you feel that the Chicago Bulls should approach this trade deadline? Should they look to trade the assets that they can to get the most they can, future assets back, first-round picks, things like that? Do you think they will or should hold on to Zack LaVine? Do you think they will or should hold on to DeMar DeRozan? Do you think they're making the right choice and holding on to Alex Caruso? Let me know what you guys think on all that down below. Really interested to hear how you guys feel about how the Bulls should attack this trade deadline and going forward. And would you be triggered if continuity ends up being the bet again for the Chicago Bulls team? I think that because that's definitely an option for this as well. We can let this trade deadline go by and still be pretty silent on it without very much happening for the Chicago Bulls. And if that does happen, that's going to put, I think, a lot of Bulls fans in a place of being concerned once again about the future of this team. But make sure you guys sound off on that down below. If you're on the podcast side, I'll tell you how to get your thoughts in here in a second. But with that said, let's go ahead and get into the mailbag for today. This one's from Bulls Daily.
Yeah, man, them 3 minutes is not enough at all. I need at least 4, 3.5. But I was pretty much done. I just had to get that Zack LaVine shit off my chest. I pretty much just wanted to say how I feel like Zack LaVine just need to get on up out of here. Just move around. Yeah, just move around, gang. You not on shit at all. You hear me? I'm tired of seeing your light-skinned ass on my bench. I'm tired of seeing your light-skinned ass in my city. On some real shit. Just move around, gang. I totally don't got no type of, I just don't like how he approached some shit. You know, I don't really like that. You holding grudges from 2-3 years ago. Man, get your bitch ass on, Lord. O'Neal. Your ass triggered. Motherfuckers be triggered. But I just really wanted to say how, I just feel like with us having Ayo Dosunmu, Kyrie, and Kobe, I really feel like Kobe could take that next step into becoming another Zack LaVine as an all-NBA, all-star. Well, I don't know if he became all-NBA, but at least an all-star. I really could see all 3 of them being all-star. Maybe not Ayo, but Kobe and Patrick, I could see them being all-stars, especially Kobe. So I just feel like Zack LaVine is a cancer. I feel like with this time he had out, he should have analyzed the team, watch how everybody played. And if you really want to be here, if you really want to be in my city, you gonna have to act like it and play better and play for the team and play to win And that's just what it's going to have to be, Lord, on it. Because we not finna be doing this shit, next season if we keep him and then he starts saying the same shit next season. Like, bro, no, bro. Like, you can't be trying to finesse the game, bro. We done fucked with you. We done, you coming off injury, all type of shit. We giving you bread because we trusting you and shit just for you to want to trade on us a year, half into your contract. Man, you was a mark-ass trick on LC. But anyway, I'm done trolling though, man. I just wanted to get that off my chest. Man, like I said, Zack LaVine here, he is here. If he's not, I'll be very happy. If he's not, it gives other people more time to shine. In my opinion, trade Zack LaVine. I'm done with the Zack LaVine area. Get the fuck off my team with that goofy shit. Bulls Daily from the little end of that rack. I'm out there.
Okay. So I know a lot of Bulls fans share your opinion on Zack LaVine just ready to move on from him. And I won't disagree with you, right? Like there are certain things about Zack LaVine that like the holding that grudge over being benched a couple of years ago, how he handled the initial after the trade rumors came out and how he came out and played after that, felt like he was kind of giving up on the team in a way. But here's what I'll say with this is that Zack LaVine has shown, like at least in one game back, maybe he can fit in. And there's something to be said that if that does continue, how Zack can fit in. It's about him checking in mentally for this team and realizing that the way that things have gone have gotten to be different. And so I know a lot of Bulls fans are going to share your sentiments that Zack LaVine needs to move on. There are going to be Bulls fans on the opposite side and say, hey, why are we moving on from Zack? We shouldn't move on from Zack. Let's trade tomorrow. Let's see what else we can bring in here. And, I think there's two different sides to have on that. Not to say that your way is right or wrong, because it's not. Like, you have the right to that opinion. As somebody who represents this team and invest in this team, everybody has their right on how they feel that the team should go. But ultimately, it comes down to what the front office, what Zack LaVine wants and things like that. And so if Zack does truly still want to move on, he'll move on eventually. And it'll happen. Whether it happens this trade deadline or in the offseason, it'll happen at some point. And I think our discontent with certain things that Zack LaVine has done, the way I look at it is this, is that Zack has never really been on the best team, right? And then when he was on a team that really fit his play style really well, Lonzo went down and we have not rebounded well since then. But how this Bulls team is playing now, it could really help Zack LaVine a lot. And, we'll end up seeing what happens from it. I got kind of go back and forth on what I think is going to happen, but I think it's safe to say that if Zack wants to be moved, he will be moved. And if that's really what's going on behind the scenes, it'll happen eventually. But all right, let's get into this next voicemail. This one's from Goon. Not Auntie Goon, but this one's from Goon.
Yo, what's up, man? This is Gone, man. I check out your show and everything, and this is what I got a problem with. Why are we scared to say that Drummond and Vooch can play with each other? The lineup, for the starting lineup for this 24th season should be Alex Caruso, DeRozan, Drummond, Vooch, and Zack LaVine. That should be your starting lineup. Then you go on with, now this is Zack stay. And I know y'all say, oh, he ain't gonna stay. I bet you he stay. I bet you DeRozan stay too. Those guys are gonna stay. They have a camaraderie with each other, and they might see something that the front office don't see. Back to what I was saying. And then your bench should be Kobe, Io. When Torrey Craig come back, he will, and a little bit of some more Drummond, because they don't want to use Sanogo. And nobody even talking about him. What about the other guy? OB, I think his name is. Why he ain't playing?
Okay, so Vooch and Drum starting together, I'm sorry, that's just not a good idea. It's not smart basketball. And matter of fact, the whole starting lineup that you just presented sounds good in like 2K, but it doesn't sound good in the realities of actually playing basketball. And to throw into that, why the hell would you bench Kobe White with the way that he's been playing? And we're not even just talking scoring. We're talking about the way he's been passing, the way he's been rebounding, the defense that he plays. Why put that on the bench? Right? So I'm sorry, the whole starting lineup that you just gave out, I'm sorry, that's one of the worst starting lineups I've ever heard, and we've seen it. Vooch and Drum do not work together, especially as starting together. Where's the spacing at that? Matter of fact, the whole starting lineup that you put out there has no three-point shooting outside of Zack LaVine, no spacing at all. That's a terrible starting lineup. Terrible. It's no realm in the reality of the world in which that works. Now, like I said, maybe on 2K, but in the real world, hell no. That's literally one of the worst starting lineup ideas I have ever heard for this team. Now, as far as the core three staying together, I do think that there's a chance of that, right? And it depends on, throughout this season, I do think that there's a chance that after the trade deadline, we still hold on to it. If I had to put a percentage on it, I'd say probably about a 40% chance that the core three is still on this roster by the end of the season. Now, if you're asking me if the core three is still together by the start of next season, I drop that down to a little bit about 30%, right? So it really depends on a couple of different avenues and things going on. You can say all day about like, oh well, this team has something. They like each other, camaraderie, but it's not that. You can suck and have camaraderie. They don't suck. I'm not saying that. You can have camaraderie and still suck ass, right? It's about where this team can go and improving and putting a team together that can actually go on a run. And this core three is proven that they cannot do, not at least at a high level and consistently. And with the age of this core three, eventually you have to start getting a little bit younger. So, we'll see what happens with that. But thank you for leaving that voicemail. Let's go ahead and get into this next one. This one's from Cornelius.
Hey, what's good, Hayes, man? Steve Red Nation. It's Corn, man. I want to talk about Zack LaVine, his comeback and all that, man, and overall about everything about Zack. Zack had a good game. He looked good in the offense, no complaints there, The threes, okay, 1-5, that's kind of worrying, but his first game back, so I'm going to take that with a grain of salt. The thing I really want to talk about is the trade talk. I'm going to give everybody a scenario probably a lot of people forgot. One time, to me, the GOAT wanted to be traded. His name is Kobe B. Bryant, and he wanted to be traded. We all know where. I don't even want to mention it and give us bad memories again. But that's beside the point. I'm not comparing the player. I'm comparing the scenario. Okay? Comparing scenarios, not the player. Zack LaVine will never be Kobe. Came to sniff his shoes. Okay? We're just going to leave it at that. Please don't come for me in the goddamn comments saying, why are you doing that? I'm comparing scenarios. Okay? All right? So, Kobe wanted to be traded. Kobe was unhappy. Kobe was saying it on radio shows, literally telling guys, hey, man, yeah, I think it's best for me to be traded, and it was bad and all that. But then they finally worked it out. You know what I mean? Of course, they bring in Powell. Of course, they brought in, some players to get them another championship. I'm not saying they go into the lengths to do that for Zach. I'm just saying this could be sizable if we just work together. Like I said, this offense, Zach will thrive in. And like I said, this is the best. I've always been for not trading Zach. But if we do, we do. It is what it is. But I've always been for not trading Zach. And just a clear shout out. Let me give a shout out to Billy D, Peter Patton, and the coaching staff, development staff. Giving DT the confidence that I knew that he would be capable of me playing. Like I said, reminded me of Io rookie, year in a way, how he's coming along. So shout out to DT, for having a great game. Wish you would have did double digits, so Hayes took that shot. But shout out to Peter Patton, his staff, and shout out to Billy D, man. Hey, man, all right, Hayes. You have a blessed day, King. Peace.
Great voicemail from Cornelius. I agree with you, bro. Zack LaVine really did look good in the offense. And, that's still Zack LaVine. As he said, he's still getting his legs under him. There was a couple of times he got the rebound on the fast break and then went out to the corner to kind of catch his breath. So once Zack LaVine is fully back, he has his conditioning things under him, and seeing how this team can get out on the run, hey, that could be a dangerous team. And so we end up seeing now the Kobe Bryant scenario that you put out there. I think the caliber of player matters in that scenario, right? And I know that that's not, you're just talking about comparing the situations, right? But when you look at Kobe, I think that the Lakers, they had a all-time great player. And so that's a very different thing to say, hey, we got this all-time great. We don't want to let him go. We think we can build a team around him, which they eventually did, and he won a couple of more titles, than trading him just because he's upset now. Zack LaVine isn't nearly that caliber of player. So, I think that the Bulls do look at it and seeing what we can get back if Zack LaVine doesn't want to be here, not because that Zach isn't good in his own right, but he's not Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bean Bryant was the type of player that you knew if you had on your team, you can go on deep playoff runs, especially while he was in his prime, regardless of that. So you had to find the right combination of pieces. And when you look at the team that he won that title with, they were a deep team, absolutely. But so I think it's a different test. Now, I'm not saying in just the bones of the scenario that Zack LaVine can't come in, he can't play with this team over these next 14 games before the trade deadline, and he can't say, hey, what we're doing over here is pretty good. You know what? I think I'll stay. There is a chance of happening. I'm just saying that the Lakers denying Kobe Bryant's trade request is a very different thing for one of the all-time great players that you have on your roster and in your system. And so, I think that's a very different thing because you can easily see how you can build a championship team around a player like Kobe. Can't necessarily see that with Zack LaVine. But again, to just compare the scenarios, yeah, there's definitely a chance that Zack LaVine comes in here, he plays well with this team, and he looks around and he just is like, listen, we balling, man. Let's give it another year. Let's see. We'll hold off on that trade request. There's definitely a possibility for that. And let's see where it comes in. We'll get the answer in about a month, right? The February trade deadline is right around the corner, so we'll get that answer sooner rather than later. So great voicemail there from Corn. Let's get into this next voicemail. This one's from Casual Kelder.
Hey, big guy. It's been like a little while. This is Kelder. I thought I would check in. This month, since I called in last, according to my phone record on my phone thingy, has been a lot of fun. I'm glad to have been proven wrong that these young guys do have some talent. Shocked at Dalen Terry. He's really, really fun. Patrick Williams, play that energy, keep it going. Kobe White, is Kobe White. Solid group. And Io is my favorite one of them just because of the pure energy and speed he plays with. I want to know what you think about this. Thought the guy yesterday who wanted, tear it down or championship or nothing. I can see now why you bring in veterans because you don't want to have all rookies. That's how you turn into Detroit. Is that what you're kind of thinking too? Like if you're a young team and like the only vets you bring in are like Marvin Bagley or one of the Bogdanoviches, like you're not gonna really support the young kids in winning, and then they're playing in weird like losing environments. We don't want that. So you have to have some vets, I would say, and then I still say trade Zack LaVine. What do you think about that? All right, bye.
Shout out to Kelder for admitting that you're wrong. And this is the thing, right? And it's not about being right, being wrong, or anything like that. It's just about that I think we have trained ourselves as a basketball community to think that development is linear, that you have a player, you draft them, they show some things the first year, they show a little bit more the second year, by the third year, boom, they're off to the races. And what we're seeing in the NBA now is that that's not always the case for every player. There's a couple of different routes you can go when drafting. You can go the route of I'm drafting a player who then I feel like can impact right away. He has a skill set that we can draw out right away. It's still going to take some time to develop, but then you can go the route that AK and Eversley have gone, and that is high potential with players that are going to be projects for at least a couple of years. And that's the route that takes more patience from both the front office, the coaching staff, and the fan base of the team. Because listen, we all saw Dalen Terry last year and thought, hey, this is kind of rough. This is rough. And you weren't wrong for saying, looking at Dalen Terry and saying like, hey, I don't know if this guy's going to be an NBA player. And while it's not all perfect yet, and he's definitely not done developing and growing yet, you now see this player of what he can potentially be at the NBA level and how he can contribute. Still needs to work on the shot, still needs to calm down some, but you're seeing the steady progression game after game of just things that he's able to do and learn on the fly. And so I appreciate you for admitting you're wrong. And like even you mentioned in Dalen Terry, now you did say some crazy shit like Kobe was not a non-NBA player, but that's a story for another day. But like I always talked about in the conversations, that you got to take patience with these players, and that takes time. And I understand that it gets a little antsy in that case, especially when we're not winning basketball games on top of that, right? So, this young Bulls players, they are really showing some things. They still got things that they need to develop on and grow, absolutely. But they are showing a lot for what they could be for the future of this Chicago Bulls team, and that I'm eternally grateful for. All right, let's get into this next voicemail. This one's from Corey Mays.
Yo, what's up, Hayes? This is Marvin's Corey Mays. Good afternoon. God bless. I love what you're doing. Now, what I was saying was Tyrese Maxey better than Kobe White? I'm saying yeah, because if Tyrese Maxey was over here, he wouldn't have been in and out of the starting lineup. I believe he would have got the starting lineup and kept it. I feel like Kobe White, one, is a shooting guard. I don't think he's a point guard. And they're like pushing him to be a point guard. And I think his best thing is what they try to make Zach is, which is a catch and shoot, maybe catch and drive, 2-3 seconds or less, make a decision or pass the ball. But what I'm saying is, if we're just winning games just to win games, like that's redundant, because we need better players to come in to replace these players that we have. And we need younger players to replace the players that we have. And yes, I have been, I grew up in Chicago. I'm 37, birthday in a couple of days, I'll be 38. I'm tired of seeing this team not do that. Like, they get a couple of players and it's, oh, let's go. And it's like, nah, hold on, wait. That's what they did with Rose, and Rose ended up getting hurt because they got to keep him on the court so long because he didn't have no help. He didn't have nobody to run with, no real person to run with. Like, you got to put a lot of players together. Yeah, Tyrese Maxey is playing with an MVP player, but he's playing with an MVP player. How did they get him? By drafting him. There ain't no trading for him. Ain't no. You got to be a certain type of team to have that in your back pocket to play. To be I'm a trade for this player, or I'm a free agency. I'm gonna sign this player. We don't have that. And when the last time have we done any of that? So if that doesn't work, we have to do what do works for us. This is the one card we have to play. And if we continuously go down this road, I mean, what? When is next time we're going to be anywhere near a championship, man? It's going to be years from then if we continue down this same exact path, which is compete a little, develop a little, to the point where we don't want to pay them no more, then we trade them. Like, nah, that's...
All right, so first let me debunk something that you're saying. Kobe White's not a shooter. So you saying run him like Zack LaVine and he's not. He's a scorer, not a shooter. And that he needs the ball in his hands. And so even you using the Rose comparison is a bad comparison. Rose had one of the deepest teams in the NBA. So you saying, oh, well, look at Rose. We didn't have the depth, and that's why Rose didn't get hurt because of the lack of depth. We had Noah, Taj, Boucher, who was still playing good then, and we had one of the deepest benches in the NBA. And the fact of the matter, you're trying to paint this picture on, oh, well, we just need to get it now. You act like the Bulls aren't going to still have draft picks now, right? And even what you're saying, there are teams that try to be bad to draft, and they're still doing it for years. So you saying that we're years away? Yeah, we're years away regardless. There's no quick turnaround to this. And like I said before, tanking or just trading away players or whatever else, all that does is remove the expectations from the fan base. It really doesn't excel shit. And so I got to disagree with you on a lot of that. I don't like, and you're acting like because the Bulls winning a few games now, it means that they're still not going to draft players. That just doesn't make sense. Nothing that you said fits together. Even when you using the Rose comparison made your point it hurt your point more than it helped it. So yeah, and you say Tyrese Maxey over, like Kobe White and Tyrese Maxey, there's not that big of a gap between them. And like I said, you put Kobe on a team where he's playing with a true MVP caliber that also passes, and Kobe would be better than Tyrese Maxey on the Philadelphia 76ers. I truly believe that. And you can say that Kobe went up and down in the starting lineup. Yeah, he did that because of the acquisition the Bulls made, right? Don't act like Tyrese Maxey was a starter from day one either. They brought in Lonzo Ball, which of course pushed Kobe White to the bench, and that really helped his development because he learned, hey, this is what I need to do defensively. This is how I can pace the game. He became a better passer, a better decision maker over that. So I don't agree with anything that you said in that, and I don't think it makes sense other than you just looking at, boom, I feel like Maxey's this player. I feel like Kobe's not. Let's try to make everything else work. And I also have this problem with, oh, the Bulls, we just need to get young. Like, that's still coming. And so, like, when you look at teams like that have won the title, the Denver Nuggets never went full rebuild, never won less than 35 games, I think, and still developed. That's why drafting smart is better than just having a high draft position, right? So you got to look at things like that. So that's my standpoint. Everybody, let me know what you guys think down below. All right, let's get into this last one. This one's from the 719.
What to do, y'all? This is Pharaoh under SoCo_Phenoms. Let's get to it. Listen, me personally, I think the Bulls have all the tools we need to be successful when we are healthy. The main reason why we haven't been successful is because of our rotational issue. It seems to me is that the only reason why we struggle is because our coaching staff fail to put the right players in the right position at the right times, right? We have all the tools that we need, especially how the Bulls have been playing recently. And shout out to Zack LaVine and Vucevic having a dominant game coming back from their injuries. I've been kind of overhearing people, talking about how they're just trash and they need to get traded. Listen, I understand the situation. It could help the Bulls when they get traded, but listen, those two are bucket getters. They're former All-Stars. We can't just be trying to trade people just for chips and nothing, you know what I mean? But anyway, listen, we have all the tools that we need. It's just rotational issues, right? Because think about it. Kobe White has been balling. He's essentially been playing the same role that we gave Lonzo Ball when he was playing, right? Kobe White has been playing much better defense. He's been shooting much better. And he's been facilitating. That's what we've been asking for anyone to play at that point guard level position, right? Kobe White has been doing that thing. So we give that to him. DeMar DeRozan, we need him to be playmaking DeMar DeRozan. We don't need him to be ISO unless we actually need him in the fourth quarter. For the first three quarters, we need him to be a playmaker. Zack LaVine, I don't know why Billy Donovan keeps letting him go on ISO ball. That's not Zack LaVine's strength. We need Zack LaVine to mainly be catch and shoot off the screen or catch and drive in transition. That is the Zack LaVine we need for him to be a superstar on our team, to be a man, right? We don't need him doing iso ball work like DeMar. No, we need him to stick to fundamentals. Patrick Williams now, if he plays how he's been playing recently with Zack LaVine and Vucevic back on the floor, oh my gosh, we could be a dominant team. That's literally all we need to be a successful team. But like I said before, we have rotational issues, right? We don't know how to properly get the most out of our players with a certain amount of time, right? We have so many guards to spread minutes out of that can all be starters that they really are required, right? Dalen Taylor had a career game because he started. But in my offense, Dalen Taylor, although he had a good game, I'm still not convinced yet because his teammates kind of set him up for those shots, and it is against the Hornets. But hey, I'm still high praise for him. I still am wishing the best for him to continue to get better, but I need to see more from him if I'm going to be confident that he's going to be a solid future piece for us. But the bench, we got Caruso doing his thing. Drummond has been.
The Bulls have all the tools when healthy. I gotta disagree with that. We have a deep team. Well, it's like, what are you saying that to say? Do we have all the tools to be a championship team? Hell no. Like, and again, just because you have a deep team is also the caliber of that depth. So no, the Bulls don't have the depth, or it's not just we don't have all the tools to be a championship team. Now, if you're talking about success and the fact of winning games, yeah, we can win games. And I feel like with the way that we're playing now, we can win a lot of basketball games. We're playing with the pace of a 51-win team per point differential and everything else here lately. So there's definitely a chance of that. But I think that there's a tall test to just say, hey, well, we got this, we got that. It's more than just rotational. It's more than just Billy Donovan having the right players in at the right time. It's also development. Some of that matters as well. But it's also that we don't have some of the things that really good teams that go on playoff runs have, and we don't have that balance either. Now, we can obtain that balance, but I think just saying that the Bulls have all the tools to be successful, like I said, it depends on what you're looking at as success, right? You didn't say that in this voicemail, so I don't know if you're looking at success of saying we can be a championship level team, or you're just saying, hey, we can be a team that wins a bunch of games. Now, the latter part I agree with. I do agree that we have the chance to be a team that wins a lot of games. It comes down to playing with that heart and understanding how to go about it, but it's more than just depth. We need more on this team. We need somebody who transcends to really push us up to that next level. And that could be on this team. They just haven't developed yet, but I think we definitely do need that. So that's my opinion. You guys, as always, can let me know what you think down below. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, man. Make sure you guys are following the show at Bull Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and or voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, thanks to you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See red if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.